So there was a trip that the chamber led of about 30 individuals from throughout the region, from business and elected officials and government leaders, so a cross section, and really went to just go look at what some of the strengths were in the Boulder and Denver area. And one of the conversations that stuck was this conversation about regionalism, because the group was going out really feeling like we had this big shared challenge together. And there was a story in Colorado that they coalesced around the shared challenge when there was the big oil bust and they had to figure out how they were going to pull their economy out of the tubes. But I would say even more than what we talked about, that really wasn't the magic that happened on the trip. It was the people on the trip that talked to each other. And so at the time there was the city manager of Paso and now the county CAO. They'd never met each other or talked to each other until they went on that trip. And now they talk to each other over a beer all the time. And it's building relationships, which then build trust. And when you have trust with people, you approach your challenges in a completely different way. You can get things done for the community in a different way. So I think the magic that happened was these relationships were built. People started to trust each other and started to talk about issues in a different way. A good example coming out of that trip was there was 5 elected officials that went on the trip. From different parts of the region, different political parties that typically don't have a reason to work together on different issues. They have different jurisdictions, but they came back and felt like they really wanted to see regionalism take root, and they wanted to find ways in which they could be promoting this in their community. And what they ended up doing was having greater dialogue about the challenges at the national level with how we dialogue within our politics, recognizing that if you can't have civil dialogue, you can never get to a place where you're developing solutions. So they're like, well, what can we do to fix that? And what they ended up doing was they put together a code of civility that at least was a proclamation of that they wanted to foster regionalism, foster civil dialogue. It was a first step in that direction, and they got every city in the county, all the elected officials to sign off on that. And it was just an example of the types of things that can happen if you at least get in the same room and start having some of the same conversations. I mean, just to put it at the furthest extreme, you had John Pashong and Heidi Harmon, 2 totally different perspectives that were coming together and saying, we have the same perspective on this issue for our community. And that can happen in many other places.
As you kind of put together regionalism and be able to talk across aisles and some of the rhetoric that goes past. I mean, I even heard that there's a community coffee with Assemblyman Jordan Cunningham and Supervisor Adam Hill, which, right? Yeah, which sounds nuts.
But but you know what? For those 2, they both have come together around the shared priority of economic development and economic opportunity. The same issue we're talking about, they're saying that's our top issue. So how can we work together? And that is why they are. They're agreeing on the same problem and agreeing that they should be talking about the solutions together.
Miracles do happen.